it goes sideways. You can see it in people's faces. You can hear it in their voice. You can see it in their body language. And, inside, they get upset.
Well, you have a great look because you could be so many things, but you could definitely play out of West Texas. Absolutely. And so
Probably could, yeah.
do you have different looks on your just for your website and different things where you just try to play it more Anglo or whatever, or try to be more Mediterranean?
That's a great question. I have necessarily played different characters who looked a different way, but in coming back to, you want to work and you want to be successful and you want to continue that path, what ended up being my bread and butter were, I call it suit man. Because this is new. The hair and not
I like
shaving,
it,
having a
though.
beard. Well, thank you.
I like it.
Women love it.
Yeah,
Guys,
yeah.
not so much.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. It's been very interesting the past couple of years now. I've grown my hair out to see the reaction and stuff. And it's kind of been, I say this, like, is it career suicide? Am I out of my effing mind to do this? Because I was always clean shaven, short hair. I look at pictures of myself, I'm like, oh my God, who is that? Who is that guy? But that guy worked all the time. But it was a look, right?
Mr. Morgan Stanley.
Totally.
Not
I
an
did.
endorsement.
No,
but yeah.
no. I did a lot of financial
Yeah,
institution ads.
okay.
I did a lot of billionaires,
Oh yeah, I could see that.
technological, luminary kind of people, doctors, lawyers, like these authority figure people, right? And I guess it's kind of my voice and my energy and whatever. Got to dance with who brung you, right? But there's a whole other aspect. Like I jokingly say, when people haven't seen me in a while, like, oh, wow, your hair. I'm like, yeah, man, this is who I am on the inside. I just let it come out.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was a funny thing would happen to me on sets. I'd be on the set and I'd have this, hair like combed back and, very clean cut, probably racist, definitely conservative, definitely, whatever. Got to have fun with it. And then I would start talking about the things that I'm doing later that week, and people just kind of go, huh. Yeah. They're like, you don't talk anything like the way you look. And that sounds so obvious when you hear it. But I wouldn't think about it because I got a job at hand and I'd go back and do the job. And that'd be a craft service table or it would be, on set between takes or whatever. And then later at night at home, usually at night, you're laying in bed like, what does that mean? And now I go back and look at the pictures of myself. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't expect that guy to talk like that either.
Interesting.
Yeah, to stay sane in this business, I stay sane, but it's something that's important to me. And it was a part of, recovering from being under mind control for all those years in a cult. Which is really just an abusive relationship in a lot of ways. It's a lot more than that, but that's really what it is. So being of service to others who are not as fortunate as me. So just by the nature of me having this white skin, right, I have got an easier path in life. I just do. Sure. And I'm a man, and I'm a tall man.
Mm-hmm. And you're very attractive.
Oh, well, thank you very
Yeah.
much. Well, so those are things going in my favor that I had nothing to do with. That was just the genetic lottery, right? That's just the roll of the dice. So, I'm married to a woman who was a black woman and grew up in a very unique situation, civil rights movement. My father-in-law and his best friend started the civil rights movement. So it gave me a whole other perspective that I'd never looked at before in life, ever. And I feel like a heel for not noticing it. Because in my family, so my father's Iranian, my mother's American. Well, they're both Americans, but he came from Iran. And they had 4 boys. First of all, they eloped to get married.
Oh, wow.
My mother still wants to fight me on that she didn't elope. But I don't know, you tell me. If you get married, mm-hmm. okay, and neither family is excited about the marriage, okay? Like his family had a wife picked out for him.
Oh.
Right. And he was raised Muslim, can't stand religion, right? Thinks it's the scourge of the earth. My mother was raised as a Mormon.
Oh, interesting.
Exactly.
Wow.
She didn't want to, exactly.
What a family dinner that would be.
hang on. There's more. But wait, there's more. So they got married in Reno, Nevada
Wow.
on December 31st with none of the family members there.
Fascinating.
That's eloping, am I wrong?
I would imagine.
I would
And one of those
imagine it
little
kind of feels like,
chapels?
right? Right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Those little chapels in I've been to Reno. They have some really interesting, like these.
It's a gambling
Yeah,
capital. Yeah, it's Nevada.
Right.
Reno and Vegas, right? So they were in Reno because they were living in San Francisco at the time, or he was going to school up there, something like that. Anyway, they have 4 boys. I'm the oldest of 4 boys. All 3 of my brothers are gay. Wow. Right. I'm the black sheep. Amazing, right? And then on top of that, we moved a lot. Like every 2.5, 3 years was the new kid again, new guy with this really long Iranian name. Like it's a proper Iranian name, but I look like Steve Apple Pie.
Right. That, and so how conflicting.
Yeah, and my last name is Bijarchi, right? Dixon is my middle name. My full first name is Daryush. So Daryush Dixon Bijarchi. There's a mouthful, but then I look like this. So there's a huge disconnect, cognitive dissonance every time I'm new kid. And by the way, A, B, C, D. So I was either the first or second kid called every time we moved.
Oh, gosh.
Awesome. And you're the new guy, and it's a funny name. So there was always that conversation, right? Yeah. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
How do you reconcile that, being from sort of 2 different worlds and maybe not even identifying with either one? Just like, I don't know, I'm assuming. I don't mean to assume for you.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's a lot. So part of it is just that's my life. That's how I was raised. Those were the circumstances of me, of my life. And then as I've gotten older, I start to realize, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot, right? Like your reaction just now, 3 gay brothers? Yeah, 3 gay brothers. Not 1, 3, right? Out of 4, right? Muslim and a Mormon, Iranian and American, right? Had to elope, even though Mom doesn't like that. Sorry, Mom. It is a lot. And then on top of that, Iran became the axis of evil.
Sure.
Right?
In the eyes of
a lot of
America,
people.
especially,
in the eyes of
but,
America,
yeah.
right? Which is a whole other conversation to have, by the way, for another time. And then America, by the Iranians, is called the Great Satan. And my friend Cyrus Copeland wrote a great book about his father, and we knew each other growing up in Iran. And it's a great book, Off the Radar. I highly recommend it. But he says, I have the blood of the great Satan and the axis of evil flowing through my veins. And I started to laugh. I couldn't stop laughing. And I was like, dude, you hit the nail on the head. It's kind of bananas. And then, but I live in America. I've lived most of my life in this country. All but about 5.5 years have been in this country. And I love Iran. I love Iran.
And not all Iranians hate Americans, by the way.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
They
that's
don't.
that's something
They
that
don't.
our media has definitely helped to portray. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no, they don't. And when my friend went when Cyrus went to Iran, he was doing research on the book. He had an interaction, or he burned his foot in the sauna, I think. So he went to see the doctor at this hotel that he was staying at, and he's like, oh, you're bandaging, the leg of the great Satan, and the doctor says, well, look, there's a big difference between your government and your people, just as there's a big difference between my government and my people. And right now I'm treating a person, and you're talking to a person, and the government doesn't have anything to do with this.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a wisdom that's not just that's very commonplace in Iran, which is one of the most educated populations in the entire Middle East, certainly in the world. They place a premium on education. And they're one of the oldest civilizations in our planet, right? And there's a wisdom to that comment. Like, the government is the government, the people are the people, and they're 2 separate beings. The government can be saying one thing, but the people have a different feeling altogether. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's been challenging because since 1977, or 79, when the revolution occurred, the Iranian Revolution, which we escaped luckily by, had the clothes on our back and suitcases. That was it. It was not fun, but we got off a lot easier than a lot of families did. But since that time, man, as soon as people find out I have Iranian blood, things go sideways, and it's always very small. It's just, but it goes sideways. You can see it in people's faces. You can hear it in their voice. You can see it in their body language. And, inside, I get upset.
May I
That's okay.
interrupt for one moment?
That's
I was
all right.
thinking of a book by Flannery O'Connor, and she wrote a lot about racism in the South. And there was one line where she said, like, I feel sorry for the people that are half, because they have it the hardest. Because she was reading it, so I'm like imitating her voice. And that is very difficult when you are you're not a whole of something in terms of being accepted by both. By one side or another. I think that's very difficult for people when they're a mixture of something in that sense. I know we're all mixtures of something, but
Right.
because it's almost like you're not part of the one side totally. I don't know. I'm only speaking of my own experience.
Yeah, so. I don't, it's everybody's got their something, right? Like this is definitely, like again, I'm a white man in America in a first world country, white man. And I've got money in the bank, I got food in the fridge, and a roof over my head. So what am I talking about? However, the emotional world is a different thing. And then having to deal with, the social aspect, the fabric of wherever I am, yeah, it's, I got choked up. You stopped it. It does, man. It bothers me. It wears me out. And it gets... and I'm white. Imagine if I had darker skin, right? Or maybe an even bigger nose, or thicker lips, or nappy hair, right? I don't know. Then what, right? So in a lot of ways, who am I to talk? I can only speak about my experience. And I don't know. That's a big question. That's a lot. It says a lot. I do feel Iranian in so many ways. It was my first language, my first sounds, the first music, the first smells, the first food. The first sights were necessarily all in Iran. They're all Persian. It's all that, right? And that's deep, deep, deep inside me. I remember when we went to live in Iran, I was about 12 years old when we went back. Oh. And it was like going back to a very familiar place. I don't necessarily call it home because, I was a kid and I thought that's all I really knew consciously. But it was like the sound, the rhythm, the cadence, the smells, the beat, the groove of the whole thing was all very familiar, which was wonderful. Yeah, really wonderful in ways that I can't really fully explain.
And you don't get cast as an Iranian, I would imagine? I don't see it in you at all.
No, never.
I see a guy that could be from San Diego. He could be from...
Like this, they think of, you're a beach guy, you're a surfer?
Right, but I've also seen photos of you from doing the research, and you could be, the Morgan Stanley... guy that's on the 18th floor and is with the steeple, hands and, a guy on speakerphone and is like,
I did a lot of roles like that, a whole lot. Yeah. And it's always the most fun when you get to be the obnoxious, like the asshole.
Sure.
It's just, come on. Where else can you act like that and get paid for it and not get arrested and have people hate you because they know you're just playing a part, right?
Sure, but that must be interesting to reconcile with that because then you're also playing a role in that sense that may be fearful of actually who you really are or where you came from.
Oh, yes.
And so it's like a weird thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. I've had to go to that, be that guy that, the short hair, the, steeple hands, the, master of the universe, Mr. Suit Man, as I called it, and had to say some ugly words and act, less than favorably toward other people and say some ideologies that I don't share at all. And you know, I can jump into that and do it easily because I've heard it come at me and I've heard it come at, you know, my loved ones more often than I care to mention. But yeah, it's a weird one. You know, yeah, here I am. I've got this hair growing out and I'm not playing Suitman anymore. And I'm talking about transmedia, but right? And creating this something, you know, a whole different thing, like a franchise type of a thing, which is like, that's crazy big thinking. But you know what? Why not? Why not? Because that guy, I feel like that guy's been played out. He can always come back, man. You can cut hair, shave, and throw a suit and tie on, and you know, I'm back. You know.
You could do a ponytail and slick it, and just you could still be that guy.
I've done that too. Yeah, I could still be that guy with a ponytail. You can do all of it. He still exists. But you know, the funny thing is, as I go into casting offices for the past, I don't know, however long, year now, and someone hasn't seen me, you know, they're always like, "Oh, wow," and it's favorable. It's a little shocking, but you know, it's interesting because now they realize there's more to it than they first thought, right? You're like, you've got someone pigeonholed. We always compartmentalize and go, oh, that's who Karen is, okay, right? That's who Dar is, right? And it's just interesting. I didn't mean to do this. It just happened. Well, I had a rough summer 2 summers ago. I had back pain turned into back surgery in like 20 days.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. Surgery went spectacularly well. Pain's gone. I had something they call foot drop, so it was literally starting the beginning of nerve damage, all gone. Mm-hmm. 2 weeks later, I had diverticulitis, which I didn't even know what the hell it was. And basically, they don't know what it is. You get a little bit of irritation in your colon. They don't know what causes it, how it occurs, but I almost died from it. Yeah, not good. And that got my attention. I didn't like think, oh my God, I almost died, and make a big thing out of it. I grew up with my mother, who's an ER nurse for 30 years, an ICU for another 2 or 3 years on top of that. And then she worked in managed healthcare for almost another 30 years after that, maybe 20 years or something like that. So I grew up in hospitals. I was always at the hospital, you know, going to go see mom, or I had to go drop her off at work or go pick her up as I started to drive and stuff. So I've always been around that type of thing. So I didn't like, a lot of people, if they get a sniffle or a cough, no disparagement, it's the end of the world, they're dying, oh, do I have,
Right, no.
Like, no, take it easy, you're going to be all right.